Hello, I'm Catherine Logan, coming to you today from the GBTA VDR Europe Conference in Hamburg. Joining me in the broadcast studio is Samantha McKnight, Senior Vice President, Client Solutions at CIBTvisas. Samantha, thank you so much for joining us today. As many of our delegates have discovered, the European Union's entry and exit system has recently launched, and on the surface, this seems like a really straightforward change. But what things should a travel programme decision maker and travellers be aware of?
I think the first thing is being aware it's happened. So it sounds basic, but because it's something that's so different and so new, we've been used to being in and out of Europe without any processes or considerations taken into account. But this is now something that is going to replace our more traditional ways of crossing the border. So stamps will start to go away. It will now become biometrics and other processes involved. But it is the start of a change that we're going to see across the European Union in general. So the main thing is it is happening, it has started, but it's going to take a while. So although it rolled out in mid-October, the full implementation isn't finishing until April. So it might be you travel into one airport and you see it, and you travel into another and you don't. They also have the option of switching it on and off during that implementation period. So you might leave on a Eurostar out of St Pancras one day, it's there, but then maybe Easter week when it's really busy and they don't want to create any queues, they might have switched it off. So I think it's an awareness conversation. And from that perspective, how are you communicating and engaging with your traveller population so that they know it's happening and the potential impacts? It's going to be interesting because it's a 6-month period. Certain places have done it, certain places haven't. And I think the problem with that is we'll be lulled into a sense of nothing's changed and then all be caught out right at the end.
Yeah, it is that inconsistency that is the challenge. However, I am relieved to hear that there is an override function in place, which if the queues get too bad, it's not a complete computer says no. And so, do these changes unlock new challenges?
They do, actually. And digitization is a positive in so many ways. But what it does do, and I think people sometimes forget, is it means easier access to information for everyone, including government authorities. And of course, that means data sharing as well. So across all 32 member nations, it's now easier to know and understand, have you overstayed the number of days you should have been in the Schengen area? So before, where that was quite a manual process, now with a swipe or with your fingerprints or with your face, a border official now knows, actually, you're on day 92, here's a bill, or you can't travel, or we're sending you home. So I think some of those things are compliance challenges waiting to happen. I think when it comes to cross-border compliance in the travel arena, we happily ignore it. Like, no, that's somebody else's concern, that's somebody else's problem. That's something mobility teams have to worry about. But actually now with easier access to information, it will be much easier at the source. So when you travel, when you're departing, when you're coming home, to know exactly what's going on. And I think that's where travellers and travel managers may be taken unawares is, what do you mean I can't go on this trip? So how do you stay informed? How do your people stay informed so they can make informed decisions about when they go, how they should be going, how many days they should be spending in an area, etc.
Yes, so basically the travel manager and the traveller need to be as on top of this as the authorities now will be.
And we hear that in time, at some point next year, they will release a tracking website where you can enter in your details and see how many days have I been in region, how many days have I got left, etc. Of course, it would be great if that was integrated, wouldn't it? If we all had access to data and everyone can see it, but apparently it will only be the end user traveller who will have access to that information.
Apparently there's this amazing thing called AI that's coming out, which Who knows? Maybe it can help us.
Government doing something intelligent with tech. We'll see.
But I suppose in terms of for our members, what policy considerations should buyers keep in mind?
I think part of it is reminding your travellers that their leisure travel also counts towards their days in region. And it's one of the things we all forget. So if you have that lovely holiday home in Spain, and as soon as the winter months hit, you're thinking, yeah, lots of lovely long weekends away. But that's an extra 4 days. That's an extra 3 days, or adding towards the amount of time you've been in the region. So it's not just what are you doing for work, it's also considering what you're doing for leisure. It's also thinking about where the responsibility lies. What does your policy currently say? What are you telling your travellers to be aware of? And is it their responsibility? Is it the company's responsibility? Are you supporting? So this is a really good time to review what policy you have in place and if it needs to evolve. So before we hit that end of April full rollout across Europe, what have you got in place? And then make sure your people know. So what's your communication and engagement plan to remind them about these things? Because telling them now is great, but you'll probably need to remind them nearer to the end of that implementation period as well. So policy refresh time. Definitely.
That is actually a very interesting area in terms of negotiation of how many days can you, in terms of holidays and so on. Well, listen, Samantha, thank you so much for joining us today in the broadcast studio, and thank you for tuning in.